Hello and welcome to another episode of the DCeric Show. Today we go back to 1996 when Twisted Metal 2 was released, and my buddy told me to come over because he rented what I believe to be one of the greatest games Sony has ever made, which is Twisted Metal 2. I remember it like it was yesterday. I own the Super Nintendo still, and my buddy said some hilarious comments, which even today you would laugh at. He owned the wonderful PS1, and I was still behind the times, and I fought for years to get a PS1 up until 1998. Well, I guess I should get started on how I met this game. Me and my buddy used to hang out all the time and play video games, and I hung out there more than I did at my own house, because I wasn't updated on the technology yet. But anyways, one day he called me up and said, "Man, I just rented Twisted Metal 2, and you gotta check this game out." I remember me and him both took shots at trying to beat this game, and I'm sure we got to see some nice cinematic endings, and we played to see almost every character's endings. I think we even played the multiplayer, and to be honest, yeah, it's fun, but I'm no good at multiplayer games. There was so many amazing things about this game: the graphics, the dark story for every character in the game, and the amazing levels that had destructible scenery. This game took a big, huge step from the first game that used real actors for the endings of each character. The horrible part was the acting, which was pretty crappy, and I remember David Jaffe saying that the reason for the big change to cinematic endings was because he wasn't a very good director and the acting was a little shoddy. If you don't know who David Jaffe is, he is a developer of the first game and the producer and developer of the second game, and is the main reason why Twisted Metal 2 is what it is, and Twisted Metal Black and many games from the future are so amazing. The game is about you trying to finish the game being the last man standing. Calypso is the creator of these tournaments, and the last man standing shall choose a prize, and what happens next is what you'll see in the cinematic ending. There is a total of 14 characters, that's including 2 hidden characters. The 2 hidden characters are Sweet Tooth and Minion. Well, I find it hilarious how Sweet Tooth is a hidden character, as his weapons are so basic and are mostly like all the other characters in the game. But if there is one character you're looking for, that's Minion, because his special weapon shoots out powerful missiles that destroy an enemy character pretty fast. Both these characters have endings. Well, if you like this version of Twisted Metal for PS1, it would be the last before you'd see Twisted Metal Black on the PS2. Yes, there was later versions on the PS1, but the developers of Single Track had a battle with Sony, and therefore the development of Twisted Metal 3 was moved over to 989 Studios, which didn't have the rights for the engine that made Twisted Metal 2. So, 2 games were made by 989 Studios, changing the look of the game and the main theme from a dark feel to a more childish look, although the game was written for adults, and those 2 games were Twisted Metal 3 and 4. The only thing amazing about those 2 games was the soundtrack, with soundtracks by Rob Zombie and other great artists of that decade. Funny, I say those games had a childish look, because right after those 2 games were released, Twisted Metal Small Brawl was released, which basically had you controlling remote control vehicles of the characters from previous games, but was meant for kids. I remember renting this game as a child, and I probably played 1 level of this game and turned it off. After this game was made, I was thinking to myself, what happened to the Twisted Metal series of games? Then the PS2 came along, and David Jaffe had the title in his hands again, bringing back that beautiful dark feeling we had with the first 2 games, also including an online version, which sadly I never got to enjoy. I got the system much later, and I still don't own that game, and sadly the servers have been shut down. I also wanted to talk to you about a copy of Twisted Metal 2 which was released for the PC. This was the only version and probably the last version of a Twisted Metal game you'll see on the PC. This version didn't look as good as the PS1 version due to not using a 3D accelerated video card, but this was the first version to include online multiplayer over a modem line, but I'm sure today nobody is playing it. Well, once again, I have come down to the ending of the show, and I've showed you one of my favorite games. This game was released for the Sony PlayStation and PC. You might be able to find these games over eBay. So once again, thanks for watching, and prepare for another video game I couldn't keep my hands off.